One night, a young woman escaped a stranger hunting her through the darkness. She gave police part of his registration number. His car was among the possible matches. But the investigation stopped. The following night, 17-year-old Victoria Hall walked the same streets. She was only 300 yards from home when she vanished. Her killer would remain hidden for 26 years. And before the truth emerged, 5 more women would be murdered. Welcome to M.O.R.T.E.M, where we examine the evidence, the psychology, and the pursuit of justice. Today, we investigate the murder of Victoria Hall and the forensic breakthrough that exposed the Suffolk Strangler's first known victim. Saturday, September 18, 1999, began as an ordinary weekend for Victoria Hall. Victoria lived with her family in Trimley St. Mary, a quiet village near Felixstowe in Suffolk. She was 17 years old and only 2 weeks away from her 18th birthday. Her family described her as bright, lively, and loving. She was studying for her A-levels, worked part-time, and hoped to attend university to study sociology. That evening, Victoria left home with her best friend, Gemma Algar. They went to the Bandbox nightclub in Felixstowe, where they remained until approximately 1 o'clock in the morning. After leaving, the two friends bought food and began walking back towards Trimley St. Mary. They talked, sang, and shared a bag of chips as they made their way home. At approximately 2:20 in the morning, they reached the junction of High Road and Falconer's Way. Their homes were in different directions, so the friends separated. Victoria was now only 300 yards from her front door. She told Gemma that she would call her after waking later that morning. Those were the last known words Victoria said to her friend. Shortly afterwards, people living nearby heard 2 high-pitched screams. Victoria never reached home. When Victoria's parents awoke and realized that she had not returned, they contacted police. A major missing person investigation began. Officers searched streets, fields, and surrounding communities. Victoria's photograph appeared in the media. Her family appealed for information, hoping someone had seen her walking home or noticed a suspicious vehicle. But 5 days passed without an answer. On September 24th, a dog walker discovered Victoria's body in a water-filled ditch beside a field in Creting St. Peter. She had been transported approximately 25 miles from the place where she was last seen. Her clothing had been removed, but her jewelry remained. A pathologist could not establish one formal cause of death. However, the evidence indicated that Victoria had been killed within hours of disappearing, and that some form of asphyxiation or interference with her breathing had occurred. The missing person inquiry had become a murder investigation, but the person responsible appeared to have left almost nothing behind. Police already possessed a potential warning. During the early hours of the previous morning, 22-year-old Emily Doherty had been walking along High Road East in Felixstowe. At the top of Pickett's Road, she noticed a man standing beside a stationary car. The engine was running. The driver's door was open. The man stood in the darkness. Emily immediately sensed danger and began running. She moved between driveways and gardens, trying to remain hidden. The man returned to his car and drove slowly along the road, searching for her. When Emily hid in a garden, he left the vehicle again and approached her position. She ran once more, found a stick to protect herself, and began knocking on doors. Eventually, a couple answered and allowed her inside. They contacted police. Emily provided a description of the vehicle and part of its registration number. Investigators searched the National Vehicle Database. 56 vehicles registered in Suffolk were considered possible matches. One was a dark burgundy Ford Granada Scorpio owned by Steve Wright. But research into the vehicles was eventually discontinued. Wright was not identified as Emily's attacker. He was not questioned about the incident. The following night, Victoria disappeared. Steve Wright was living in Felixstowe in 1999 and working shifts at the town's docks. He knew the areas where Emily had been pursued and where Victoria lived. He was also not working during the weekend of the attacks. But the significance of those connections would not be recognized for decades. After Victoria's body was discovered, Wright began making changes. On September 29th, his first day off after the discovery, he traveled to Ipswich and bought another car. Investigators later believed he had exchanged the burgundy Ford Granada connected to Emily's description. In November, Wright changed his telephone number. Later that month, he sold his replacement vehicle and traveled to Thailand. He remained there until January 2000. None of these actions independently proved murder, but years later, they would form part of a much larger circumstantial case. The original investigation generated tens of thousands of records and hundreds of potential suspects. Despite the scale of the effort, no one was charged. Victoria's family entered an agonizing period of uncertainty. They knew she had been murdered, but they did not know who had taken her or why. 7 years after Victoria's death, women began disappearing from Ipswich. Between October and December 2006, 5 women were murdered. Their names were Tonya Nicol, Gemma Adams, Anneli Alderton, Paula Clennell, and Annette Nichols. The killings created widespread fear across Suffolk. The victims were young women of slim build and small stature. Their bodies were discovered without clothing in rural locations. Investigators concluded that the deaths involved asphyxiation or interference with breathing. Police eventually arrested Steve Wright. DNA and fiber evidence connected him to the victims. In February 2008, he as convicted of all 5 murders and received a whole life order, meaning he would never be released. The similarities with Victoria's case were difficult to ignore, but similarity was not proof. Wright denied murdering the 5 women and made no admission concerning Victoria. Her case remained unsolved. In 2019, 20 years after Victoria's death, Suffolk police announced that the murder investigation was active again. The renewed inquiry was known as Operation Avon. A new team approached the case with an open mind. Investigators began with more than 43,000 items from the original investigation. As connected material was added, more than 100,000 records and exhibits required examination. More than 400 named people of interest were considered. Detectives returned to Emily Doherty's attempted kidnapping. They reconsidered her description of the vehicle, the partial registration number, and the location where she had been pursued. This time Wright's burgundy Ford Granada received closer attention. Further analysis narrowed the original list of 56 possible vehicles to only 2. One belonged to Wright. Investigators also recovered surveillance footage recorded on the morning Victoria disappeared. At 6:14 a.m., less than 4 hours after she was last seen, a man entered a petrol station on the A14 near Stowmarket. The station was approximately 5 miles from where Victoria's body would later be discovered. 2 facial comparison experts examined enhanced images from the footage. Both concluded that the man was more likely to be Wright than someone else. The circumstantial evidence was building. But the decisive development would come from forensic science, unavailable to investigators in 1999. During Victoria's post-mortem examination, intimate biological samples had been preserved. More than 2 decades later, scientists re-examined those samples using an advanced process called YSTR analysis. Most conventional DNA testing can struggle when a sample contains a large amount of female DNA and only a minute quantity of male genetic material. YSTR analysis focuses on markers found on the male Y chromosome. It allowed scientists to detect male DNA T. Had previously been overwhelmed by Victoria's own genetic material. The resulting profile provided very strong support that the male DNA had originated from Steve Wright or a close relative from the same paternal line. the DNA evidence did not stand alone. It was reinforced by Emily's testimony, the partial registration number, the Bergen, DY Ford Granada, Wright's knowledge of the area, his movements after the murder, the petrol station footage, and the similarities between Victoria's death and the 5 murders committed in 2006. Forensic experts concluded that there was compelling evidence that Victoria and the 5 Ipswich victims had been killed by the same offender. In July 2021, police arrested Wright in connection with Victoria's murder. He was questioned and later released while the investigation continued. In December 2023, he was arrested again. By May 2024, prosecutors believed the evidence was strong enough. Wright was charged with kidnapping and murdering Victoria Hall. He was also charged with attempting to kidnap Emily Doherty the night before Victoria disappeared. Wright initially pleaded not guilty. For almost 2 years, his lawyers challenged the evidence as the prosecution prepared for trial. The trial was scheduled to begin at the Old Bailey on February 2, 2026. But on the day proceedings were due to start, Wright changed his pleas. He admitted attempting to kidnap Emily. He admitted kidnapping Victoria. And for the first time in his life, Steve Wright admitted committing murder. On February 6, 2026, Wright returned to the Old Bailey. Victoria's father and brother were present. Her mother, Lorinda, was not. She had died only weeks before Wright finally admitted the truth. For more than 26 years, she had waited to learn who murdered her daughter. Mr. Justice Ben Nathan sentenced Wright to life imprisonment with a minimum term of 40 years for Victoria's murder. He also imposed concurrent sentences of 12 years for Victoria's kidnapping and 9 years for the attempted kidnapping of Emily. Wright was all read. Why serving a whole life order for the 5 Ipswich murders? The judge told him that it was almost certain he would die in prison. M.O.R.T.E.M breakdown. Motive. The prosecution concluded that Wright was prowling the streets in search of a young woman to kidnap, and that Victoria's abduction and murder were almost certainly sexually motivated. 9 out of 10. Operations. Wright used a vehicle to search quiet streets during the early morning, selected women walking alone to force them under his control, and transported Victoria's body approximately 25 miles from where she disappeared. 9 out of 10. Reach. Wright has been convicted of murdering 6 women and attempting to kidnap another, with his known crimes extending from Felixstowe and Trimble. Why St. Mary to Ipswich and surrounding rural areas. 9 out of 10. Terror impact. Victoria's unexplained murder haunted her family in Suffolk for more than 26 years, while Wright's later killing spree created widespread fear and forced women in Ipswich to reconsider every movement through their sea. Immunity. 10 out of 10. Execution style. Wright targeted women who were alone, used asphyxiation or interference with breathing, and abandoned victims without clothing in isolated rural locations, creating strong similarities across the 6 murders. 9 out of 10. Mindset. Wright demonstrated patience, predatory awareness, and a willingness to continue hunting after Emily escaped. His changes of vehicle and telephone number, foreign travel, and decades of denial suggest concealment, emotional detachment, and confidence that the passage of time would protect him. 10 out of 10. Victoria Hall was only 300 yards from home. Her killer escaped justice for 26 years. But the evidence survived longer than his silence. Thank you for watching M.O.R.T.E.M. Subscribe for more factual crime documentaries examining the evidence, the psychology, and the pursuit of justice. Always remember to stay aware and stay informed.